I want to understand creativity through humanity, and I want to understand humanity through creativity. And then when you study it in this way, you get a much broader perspective on creativity, and you realize that creativity is a spectrum. It's an 8 billion units broad spectrum, and there is not one creativity. So no one should say, "Oh, I'm not creative," because you are not good at writing or good at painting or whatever you think creativity is. Everyone is creative in their own unique way, and the purpose of exploring creativity is to find that way your way.
Welcome to Season 5 of Manage Self, Lead Others with host Nina Sunday. This season we're going deeper into AI, innovation, and the invisible patterns that shape how we lead. Each episode, bold thinkers join us to explore how to lead with intention, elevate team culture, and stay future ready. The future of leadership starts with the questions we ask.
Curiosity is the spark of creativity, and today we're going to explore how to fan that spark into a flame. My guest is Fredrik Härén, known as the Creativity Explorer. In his book, The World of Creativity, he travelled through 37 countries, uncovering how creative minds think, work, and solve problems. This is part 2 of a 2-part episode. Listen to episode 170 of Manage Self, Lead Others for part 1. In this conversation, you'll hear insights drawn from different cultures, professions, and perspectives. We'll talk about how you can apply timeless creative principles to modern challenges and deepen your own understanding of what creativity truly means. Let's dive in. Welcome again, Fredrik Härén. I'm excited that we're going to explore, this is part 2 conversation, we're going to explore more of the world of creativity, your book, because there are so many places with so many great ideas that we just have to go and explore another lot of them.
To explore means to venture into unknown territory in order to learn more about it. And the way I became the creativity explorer was because I was a creativity expert for 20 years. And then 5 years ago, my son had an assignment in school to do a presentation. What does your parents do for a living? And he was supposed to say, my father is a creativity expert. But he screwed it up and he said, my father is a creativity explorer. And I heard that and I said, this is so much better. Because an expert has all the answers. An explorer, per definition, does not have the answer. The explorer only has the question. Which means it's much more interesting to be an explorer than to be an expert. And I started interviewing people that were much more different from people that normally never get interviewed about creativity. Like I would go to, that's when I went to North Korea. That's when I went to the slums. That's when I went to the slums of Mumbai, or like a tourist guide in the desert of Oman. I want to interview humanity. I want to understand creativity through humanity, and I want to understand humanity through creativity. And then when you study it in this way, you get a much broader perspective on creativity, and you realize that creativity is a spectrum. It's an 8 billion units broad spectrum, and there is not one creativity. So no one should say, "Oh, I'm not creative," because you are not good at writing or good at painting or whatever you think creativity is. Everyone is creative in their own unique way, and the purpose of exploring creativity is to find that way your way.
That's very, very good, Fredrik. And I attended a talk from someone doing their PhD in creativity, the psychology of creativity, and he explained that most creative ideas or creative flows, just before it comes a mental block, a mental blank. And he talked a bit, and I sort of relate it to when I'm doing, say, a brainstorm. One method is to write down numbers 1 to 20, ask a question, start answering, this is, 20 ways to solve this problem. And you might start with the most obvious ones. And I usually find that you get to around idea 12 when you start running out of ideas. But the idea is to stay with it and then apparently something happens inside your brain that maybe the left shifts and you get a different connections happening in the brain, and then suddenly you get a second win, and suddenly you've got 15, 16, 17, 22, 23 ideas. And I have found that if I do this on a regular basis, idea 23 often is the one that I go with. I'm glad I didn't stick with idea 12.
I agree. And I totally agree. I've done the same exercises, and it's around 12, 13 is when something happens. My fear is that that's when we run out of ideas we've seen before.
Right.
Like the conscious mind can't come up with more correct answers. And then the conscious mind says, oh, screw this, I'm done. And the subconscious mind goes in and say, okay, well, the conscious mind gave up. So, and I do this with groups sometimes. It's always around 12, 13 that someone says the first idea, that everyone else says things they've seen before. And then suddenly the group goes quiet. And then someone says, well, screw this, I'm just going to say anything. And they say something, and it's always a funny one. Someone says something funny. The group laughs, and that's when the release has come. And say, oh, apparently we're allowed to say anything now. And then we have given ourselves permission to say all the unexpected answers. So the key is there to say the one that makes you laugh.
That is lovely. I love that.
But you mentioned creative blocks. So can we please talk about Thailand? Because that's one of my favorite exampents in the book.
Oh, let's go to Thailand.
No, let's do it because it's connected to creative block.
Okay.
And this is the one that, yeah, it's like children. You're not allowed to have favorites, but this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So this is an origami artist. Her name is Kai. She's from Bangkok. She makes beautiful flowers by folding paper and cutting paper.
Uh-huh.
And I was interviewing, and she's so calm, and she's just, imagine an origami paper artist, and that you can see her in front of you. And I start talking to her about her creative process, and we somehow come in on the idea of a creative block. And I ask her, so, Kai, what if you have a creative block? What happens to you? What do you do? How do you deal with it? And she smiled. She smiles a lot, and she smiled, and she goes, I go to Starbucks. Oh, okay, sure. And what do you do at Starbucks? Are you like thinking of the problem? Like, what are you trying to get a new environment? Like, what's going on in your head? And she goes, no, I'm thinking about what coffee I'm going to buy. Oh, okay. Then what do you do? Then I drink my coffee. And I could see in her whole presence that she didn't understand what I was talking about. She had no understanding of the concept of creative block. So what she said, that in Thailand they have something called sabai sabai. Are you familiar with sabai sabai?
I'm not. I've been to Thailand, but I don't remember sabai sabai.
Oh, but you have so sabai sabai basically means don't worry, be happy. It's kind of like sabai. It's not about. Someone described it. It's not happy as in winning the lottery. It's happy as watching a sunset. So it's just enjoying life. So like you as a Westerner, you go to Bangkok, you go to Thailand, you order a beer, it hasn't come in 20 minutes. You're getting upset. You're like, hey, where the hell is my beer? The waiter will smile and say, sabai sabai. It will come when it comes. Don't worry, be happy. That's sabai sabai. So she said, in Thailand, we have this mentality, which means don't worry about it. So when she suffers from she doesn't suffer, but when she has a creative block, her reaction is just sabai sabai. Okay. So there's a block. So what am I going to do now? Oh, I'll just go and have a Starbucks now. And which means for her, a creative block does not have anxiety. There is no need to have anxiety just because you have a creative block. Why are we in the West applying anxiety? And she calls this beautifully. She calls this an idea nap. It's like a power nap. She goes, You're sitting there, suddenly you got tired. Instead of just complaining about being tired, you tell a child or yourself, let's just have a power nap now. You go and sleep for a while, you wake up, you go back to work. Same thing, you're stuck in a creative process. Don't worry about it. Sabai sabai, have an idea nap, meet a friend, have a Starbucks, and then after 20 minutes, go back and continue your work. And I promise you, the same effect will happen. You will now create again. You just needed a break.
The brain just needed a break. And I also call that thinking by not thinking.
Yes, but more importantly, the brain needed a break, but the brain didn't need anxiety. So why are we in the West adding anxiety to the break?
Well, we all need a chance to reflect and let your subconscious work on it. In fact, you can even tell yourself before you go to sleep, I'd like to wake up in the morning with a fresh idea to this problem.
I don't know if this is in the book or not. I don't remember. I don't think so. But it's okay if I share one example that's not from the book.
Good.
This is a guy I interviewed in Switzerland, a Swiss watchmaker, and he created the most beautiful. It won watch of the year. It's a
Right.
three-dimensional watch that looks like a solar system. Normally, watches are two-dimensional,
Yes.
everything, but this is three-dimensional. It's like planets moving around the sun. It's gorgeous. He came up with that idea because he had a mental breakdown from working too much. He was burned out. So he slept like something like 16 hours a day for 6 months in a row. He just slept for 16 hours a day. And then he woke up, and when he was awake, he didn't work. He only ate and watched Star Trek, the series. He was basically slept, ate, and watched science fiction for
Right.
6 months, nothing
Right.
else. And after doing that for so many months, suddenly he woke up and he had this space, three-dimensional space thing in his head that came from probably his brain just suddenly connecting all the dots. He woke up and he started building this watch. He showed it to people and they said, this is going to be watch of the year. It's amazing. Such an innovative idea. But then he got stuck. It didn't work. The pieces didn't work. It wasn't functional. And all his friends said, oh, that's too bad. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to go back to my dream. And he went back to sleep. He went back to the same dream. He's looked at what he has misunderstood about the dream. He saw the solution. He came back. He solved it. He launched it. It was best, most innovative watch in the world. Isn't that beautiful? And he said, it's kind of like when you meditate.
Oh,
you can
he
go
put
back.
himself back into the same trance.
No, well, he went to sleep, and but think about it, like same thing happens when you meditate. You go and you meditate, and you end up in the same kind of mindset as you do when you.
Yes.
So he said, "Don't worry, I'll just go back. I can go back to that dream." And subconsciously, his subconscious guided him back to the same dream, and he saw the same design, and now he saw what he had misunderstood the last time.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? That's why it's really important that we sleep on things, because sometimes I feel like things are hopeless. And then I go, well, I'll just go to sleep and see what I think in the morning. In the morning, it's complete. The solution often has arrived overnight.
Yeah. And did you read this? Did you read the chapter from Hong Kong?
Which one was
It's
that?
it's a sculpture, and it's about divine ideas and
Oh, yes,
mortal
yes, yes,
ideas.
yes. That was one of my favorite ones. Yes.
Yes,
Divine.
divine
Uh,
ideas and mortal ideas. And mortal ideas is
yes,
ideas that come from your conscious mind. Like,
that's
oh,
right.
I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna do pancakes for breakfast. That's an idea, but it's a conscious idea.
Right.
Or I think I'm gonna write a book or something like this. Those are mortal ideas. But divine ideas is ideas that he said the difference. A mortal idea comes from you. A divine idea comes to you. It's delivered to you, and you are just a vessel for this idea to become true. And it was so interesting because I would walk around in his studio and I would look at his art pieces, and I could point and said that one is a mortal idea, that one is a divine idea, and every time I was right, because the divine ideas are just so out there. They're like, it's a face with a canoe coming out of it with another face, and it's like you cannot think about this. It's like, how on earth did you come up with this? It's like, oh, it came to me in a dream, and they're beautiful. The other ones are more like, here's a sculpture of Donald Trump in a cage. You're like, oh yeah, okay, I get the metaphor, but it's not really. It's
So
okay, but
it sounds like there's a spiritual element to this.
yes, but he's not religious, and I call it divine as in divine intervention. It doesn't mean necessarily God. It means just like in the olden days, we thought, like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about genius. Genius was something that we had. It was not something that we were. Like the idea. Interview any really, really creative person, and they all tell you the same thing. The ideas are delivered to them, and I had one of those ideas. It's a novel. It's called The Invisible. This actually happens to be the logo of that book. It's a book about an invisible human race. It's the best thing I've ever written. But on the cover, I didn't want it to say by Fredrik Härén. I wanted it to say the invisible as told to Fredrik Härén. Because I did not invent this story. I dreamt the whole thing. I just woke up and had the whole movie play for me. And I just had to write it down.
And Mozart was exactly the same, it would appear.
And here's the Johnson Tang, this sculpture. He had this very interesting insight. He said divine ideas are also incredibly beautiful. They are the most beautiful messages, and his sculptures are beautiful. The Invisible is the most beautiful thing I've done. Mozart's music is beautiful. Divine ideas are the most beautiful ideas out there, and we should consciously and subconsciously try to put us in situations where we have more divine ideas, because that is how we make the world, that's how we create a totally different, more beautiful world.
Can I share with you, when I was in my early 20s and I was doing casual relief teaching, as they say, I'd finished my year of teaching and I was working in theatre, but I did part-time work as a teacher. Well, we just supervised, and I had to supervise a class that was doing a mathematics exam. And so because it was an exam, there was no behaviour issue. They were there to do the exam, and it was a double period where it was actually 2 hours. And I was doing film reviews for the university newspaper. And they said, it's the end of the year. We're going to do a theme called The End of the World. Would you write something on that? So that's what I had in my head. So I'm sitting there and I just went, the end of the world, the end of the world. And I got this funny voice in it. It's like dolphinese, I call it, the end of the world. I sat there and wrote it word for word without a word crossed out. I was halfway through when they all got up. Oh, yes, it was a double. Yeah, they had to leave or something, or they had to do something. And then the next group came in, they did their exam, and I wrote it out the rest. And at the end, I went, there's my poem. Yeah. It's a performance piece. And sometimes I perform it for people. But it's like, it was something about all the minds, all these young student minds focusing on mathematics.
Yeah.
So I call it the mind field.
You didn't change a word. You just wrote it as it is.
And it was all in dolphinese. The end of the world when the wood is boiled and the sky filled with your rain. And it was full of puns. Yeah. It was given to me. It was given to me.
And that is a deficit in the English language, that we only have one word for idea. Like, I'm gonna make pancakes, and that they are not the same. They're not even the same species. And that's why I like the idea of defining that as mortal ideas and divine ideas. Now we can talk about, because they are very different species.
All right, we're going to finish this wonderful, wonderful conversation with the Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I've been there, Kuala Lumpur. Thinking in patterns to think faster.
Mm. So this guy is a YouTuber, Malaysian YouTuber, hundreds of millions of views, but he plays the piano, and he plays the piano on, like, he has perfect pitch, but it's also, he has practiced this ability. So for example, when I met him, I would go there, I would sing a Swedish nursery rhyme that he for sure has never heard before. I sang it to him once, and he just played it right after. So he said, how on earth do you do this? And he said, because the way I learned piano is I try to identify different patterns. He said that, and then I put the patterns together. And that means I don't have to remember every single tone, I can remember patterns. And I used to be a dealer as a croupier in a casino. And people would put all these chips on, and they were amazed, like, how on earth can you calculate the winnings here? I said, I don't count every chip. I see patterns. Like, I know this combination of chips means is 165. This kind of, and I just add those patterns together. And that's the same he does with music. Anyone who's really good at something will do this. And in the book, I do the analogy between if you don't see if you do thinking patterns, you can go from seeing a solar system And suddenly, you, instead of thinking in planets, you think in solar system, and now you can think in galaxies. And then if you put in galaxies, and then you can easily upscale your thinking by thinking in patterns. And anyone who is good at any creative art will do this. The thing is to identify how do I think in patterns? What is the pattern I need to think in? Like, how can I see the next level? If it's, planet and moon, planet and sun, solar system, galaxy, and so on. And to identify the next pattern and try to see in a different perspective. That's the lesson from that guy.
Well, one way to remember pin numbers is not to memorize the numbers, but to visualize the pattern on whatever it is, the timer or
or a phone number. Yeah, you don't.
And just to see the pattern of it. Well, Fredrik, this was an amazing conversation. I've absolutely adored it. So will my audience.
I love it too. And if I can end with a final message, is that all these lessons around creativity, the overall overreaching message is to be more curious about how other people are doing things, because that opens up our world to the world.
Awaken your curiosity. Now, if people want to work with you, or where do you speak? Do you go anywhere in the world and speak at conferences, or do you have a circuit that you do? How does it work?
Yeah, well, I speak in between 15 and 35 countries every year. That's kind of that. So yes, I speak all over the world. I'm going to Australia actually on Monday. That's what I do. And the idea is to because if you speak in if you speak all over the world, you get to meet people from all over the world, and you get that, which is the last lesson maybe, the bispective. Bispective is the ability to have a dual perspective on things.
Mm. Well, it's been an amazing conversation, and in the show notes, what's your website?
It's just my name, fredrikharén.com, or just Google the Creativity Explorer. Hopefully I come up.
There you go. And go get this book, because I'm in love with this book. I can't wait to have it in my hands, because I love having the real print version, paperback version. Much success to you, Fredrik Härén. You share a lot with the world, and this has really opened up my world, this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Lovely.
This episode, my guest was Fredrik Härén on the Manage Self, Lead Others podcast, and you'll find a link to Fredrik Härén's upcoming book, The World of Creativity, in the show notes, plus links to contact. I'm your host, Nina Sunday. Connect with me on LinkedIn with a comment about how you enjoy the show. Perhaps tell some friends about the show. You can go to Apple or Spotify podcasts to rate it 5-star. Perhaps even leave a short review. Thank you for listening. Until next time, bye for now.
Manage Self, Lead Others has launched the book. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Not just a collection of transcripts, Nina Sunday adds her own reflections about each guest conversation. Plus, you might like to join Nina on her Substack channel, ninasunday.substack.com, for candid, behind-the-scenes conversations with two sharp AI hosts who riff, question, and bounce around ideas sparked by the published podcast episode. And if you're looking for a conference speaker or workshop facilitator who can up-level your team in Australia or around the world, visit brainpowertraining.com.au or ninasunday.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.